Hello my Foonatics and welcome to week 2 of season 6 of the GBA, and this week we're going up against Fizz and the Atlanta Hawluchas. Sorry this is going up a little bit late, we only had the battle on Saturday afternoon and I was busy this weekend so I wasn't able to record it in time. It's going up as soon as I could, so I apologise for that. I've already done my team builder video so you can check out what my team is about. Looking at Fizz's team, it's kind of different from what I expected. I definitely thought that the Rhyperia, Volcanion and Sizzle were coming as a core, and Salamence was a no-brainer. But I thought that Porygon 2 was more likely than Musharna, and then as an offensive mon, I thought one of his fast ones like Hawlucha or Whimsicott, or maybe even Zoroark to catch my Mew might come. Not Electivire necessarily. After I'd done my team builder, that was one of the things I was concerned about. But I did see that even if it's physically offensive, my Mew, which is specially defensive, can take hits relatively well as long as it's not adamant banned. And if it's special, then Mew should be able to handle it quite well. But I don't want it being fast and volt switching around too much because I don't have too many things to take electric type hits. Mew can take them alright, but it's going to be pressured from the Volcanion depending on the set. And then Crocodile obviously is immune, but it's slower and the Electivire can get coverage to hit that. So I need to be aware of that. Looking at his team, what I wanted to lead with was probably Crocodile. It matches up well against almost everything, but I do have to be careful. So Musharna coming, I was surprised about that because I didn't think that it matched up very well, but the likelihood is it's got a Colbur Berry because otherwise it would have to worry about Bayonet and Crocodile, and I'm guessing that it's got the Colbur Berry to take knockoffs. And the Sizzle, though I do have Fire Fang, I'm not likely going to Oko that with my Crocodile, so I'm thinking that I probably don't want to stay in on that if it starts out. Again, Salamence wouldn't be a particularly great lead, and also the Volcanion I need to be careful if it's Scarfed. So I do want to lead with Crook because I'm thinking that probably Rhyperia is going to lead, but I would just need to be cautious if anything else comes because Crook's really good against his team. Like, look at his team and tell me what likes to take the hits. The only thing really that could try to switch in would be an Intimidate Salamence, but that's it really. Nothing else because I do have the Fire Fang for the Sizzle. Oh, and I suppose Colbur Musharna as well. That could definitely switch in. But anyway, let's get on. Enough rambling. So as I say, I'm leading with the Crocodile and hoping for that Rhyperia matchup. If it does happen, let's see, he sent out Ishii and that is going to be Rhyperia, so that's really good for me. I want to go for EQ here because Rhyperia is very strong. If it goes for an Ice Punch or something like that, and I set up my rocks, then I could well be forced to switch out because I'm not OKOing with EQ. So he could well know that he could stay in, get up rocks, absolutely fine because my EQ won't KO. So I did just play it safe on the first turn. Unfortunately, Fizz does see that coming. Knockoff might have been a better play because it hits everything, would have put Rhyperia in range of an EQ. So that potentially was a better play. I'm going to switch into my keys because I'm really scared of Salamence, and Fizz predicts that really well, or predicts something favourable, and gets the matchup that he wanted initially. So he gets the Rhyperia in and able to get up rocks, which is annoying, but okay. It's okay because I have hazard pressure on his team, and if I can get my rocks up, then that's fine. I'm happy with rocks being on my side of the field. So I'm going to go for rocks this turn. And the Intimidated Rhyperia actually has Mega Horn, which is not something that I saw coming. That's really quite unfortunate. It does hit. I was thinking maybe Ice Punch for something to hit Virizion a bit harder, which I would otherwise resist both of its stabs. But Mega Horn works, although it's obviously dodgy accuracy as well, which is, I don't know. It's an interesting choice, and I didn't think that he would go for it, but he did, and so Crook's really low, and that's really unfortunate. Now I'm going to go into Soggy Doggy. Obviously, he's going to go for an EQ because he doesn't have to go for a Mega Horn, and that's actually going to hit anything harder. That's fine. I'm predicting the obvious Volcanion right here, going for a Roar. It's going to take 25% and be roared straight out so that he can take another 25% when he comes in next time, which is really good. I had to make that play. There wasn't really anything else that I wanted to do. And I get the Salamence, which is really nice as well, because that takes 25%. I do have the Ice Beam, hoping that he thinks that I'm maybe like a Rest Talk set with Roar and Scald, and so will stay in on my Ice Beam, but no, that's not going to happen. That would be way too silly anyway, because Salamence is one of the biggest threats to my team. So Electivire actually comes out. That's a decent play, obviously not wanting to take rocks with Volcanion, so that's good. Ice Beam doesn't do too much, and now I have to switch, and this is the moment of truth. Is he like a banded, terrifying Electivire, or is he much more handleable? And it turns out he goes for the Volt Switch against my specially defensive Mew. We can see how much this does, and it does a little chunk, and that's enough to make me think that it's probably specially offensive rather than mixed set or physical. Which is fine, and Mew can handle that pretty well as long as it doesn't get too weakened from other things on his team. So yes, I'm not as scared of Electivire right now. Ishii comes in. I don't fancy my chances of taking like a max attack Adamant Earthquake on my specially defensive Mew, especially because it's got to do a lot of other stuff too. So I'm going to switch straight into my Suicune because it can take the hit. He does actually go for Mega Horn, attacking the thing in front of him, which was the Mew, and that's going to do. It's going to hit again and do damage to my dog, but that's fine. The pressure will mean that he won't have many Mega Horns soon. I'm actually going to go for Rest here because I thought that I'd lose my Chesto really early because of a knockoff user like Zoroark or Scizor, but nope. I'm able to actually use my Chesto Berry, which is really good. I'm very happy about that. And I'm able to switch out and go. I'm going to go straight into Mew. It has to be Mew. Nothing else will be able to take this hit. So Mew comes in, and it really is going to be able to take this fine. I knew that he'd have to have something for my Suicune. I was kind of slightly expecting maybe a Power Herb Solar Beam or something like that. But it's a hidden power, and I am able to take that. Not really sure what set it is right now. That hidden power did quite a lot of damage though, so it's obviously very specially offensive. So here I try for a Roost. And I managed to do the Roost, surprisingly, because there's not much that can go wrong with a Roost. Yeah, so I managed to Roost off the damage and have a healthy do the Mew again. And now I'm going to switch back out into Suicune, which is just taking a beating from this Rhyperior, and I really need to get some momentum back because I have none at the moment. I'm just switching between walls and taking a beating, which is not cool. And this thing has lost its Chesto, so it's not able to do that anymore. So another Mega Horn comes out. He's only got 3 left, interestingly, but he probably doesn't need more than that. We'll see. He's already done the damage to Crook, which is unfortunate. So now, for the first time, we see Cheeseburger coming out, which is the Mushana, and I can get a Scald off on that, which is fine. I don't burn, which is good because it would have forced my rest a lot earlier. I'm going to go into my keys, my dangly keys, which are going to come, and I think here, well, I can eat a hit. I can eat any hit from this thing, even though I'm not specially defensive. That was a crit. I was about to say, that did quite a lot of damage, but that was a crit, so that's understandable. Not really sure if that's especially offensive though. That might be aggressive. Probably isn't. I'm going to throw up a Spike right now as Bad Luck Fail comes in, which is the Electivire. It's going to take some more nice Stealth Rock damage, putting it at 50%, which is pretty good, having not really touched it. Suicune Ice Beam, that's it. Yeah. Anyways, Keys is getting some lefties back, which is really nice. The only really reliable, well, not reliable, the only form of recovery it gets, which is very poor. But anyways, we're going to Mew because we've seen that it's probably specially offensive and I can take the hit. It says Volt switching out again, so hopefully it'll come back in on hazards and take a load of damage there, which would be really nice. This is interesting. He could have gone into the Rhyperior there, which would have been really unfortunate, and I would have, yeah, it would not have been a good state of affairs. But he actually brings in the Salamence here. Don't know what this is yet. We've seen Intimidate, but that's all. So it might not be Dragon Dance, but Intimidate for Dragon Dance makes a lot of sense too, because it means you can get the setup rather than, like, Moxie's very good ability as well. But we see here is Defogments, and that's not what I was expecting. I was expecting a bulky Defog Scizor, but not Defogments, which could prove a little bit tricky because my Stealth Rocker doesn't beat it. Yeah, my Crook doesn't like this thing. So I'm going to go for Spikes here because I believe that I can live any one hit from this Salamence. He does go for the Fire Blast, and we see here he's actually just fully especially offensive with the Life Orb, which is, again, not what I was expecting, and that's not great. Maybe paralyzing this thing would have been a better play, although hazards are super important, so the Spike is a very good thing to have right there. I'm going to U-turn out here because I know that the Rhyperior is likely coming in. And Giga Drain I do have, and it might have taken it out from there, but it might not have done too. It might not have done because if it's specially defensive, it won't have taken it out. If it's, I think it's probably invested in attack, looking at the damage that it's doing, just tweaking, but I'm not sure. But I am able to get the U-turn out into my Crocodile, and I want to go for an Earthquake here because I think that he'll think that I'll either go for Rocks or predict the Salamence switching. And so I managed to get rid of Rhyperior, which is huge because it means that nothing resists Crobat's Brave Bird outside of Electivire, which is already in range for a banded Brave Bird, so that's very good. Yeah, that's really good. So now this thing comes in, and I want my Rocks. I really want my Rocks because Volcanion is low and Electivire is quite low. Everything has gotten worn down really, really nicely. So I definitely want my Rocks. I allow him to get the Roost, which is very unfortunate. And again, I wasn't sure if he would have it, but he does have it, and that's sad. But I'm going to go for Rocks again this turn because I know that he's going to try for the Defog. And I thought that that would give him the idea, okay, this guy is just going to go for Rocks now, so I'm going to kill him. So I'm trying to get this cheeky and switch out, but that was just such a bad play, and I don't know what I was thinking. Like, it was so bad. I really wanted my Rocks because it would have helped a lot later on. It would have made it a lot easier. If Salamence was switching in on Rocks, if Electivire was switching in on Rocks, if Volcanion was switching in on Rocks, all these things get whittled really easily. So that wasn't ideal. But now I know that it's a special Mence, my Mew I know is the thing that can definitely deal with it. I go for a Toxic here, which is unfortunate that I miss. I'm going to go for it again. I'm not too concerned about Musharna switching in, which is actually what happens here, because though I will get synchronized, I do have the Taunt, and I was thinking, okay, he switched this in, he probably has Heal Bell. That would make a lot of sense because it would get me Toxic and he wouldn't then be Toxic. So I'm going to go for the Toxic, and then I'm going to go for a Taunt, predicting either Recovery, because he's really low just having come in on Hazards and taken a Scald, I think, and this Toxic damage. No item, probably Colbur Berry as I thought. So I'm going to Taunt it. And yeah, as we see here, that the Musharna actually does go for the Heal Bell, as I thought it might. So right now, I'm thinking he's probably going to switch out into something else. So I'm going to go for Toxic, but that's maybe not my best play. I don't know if Psychic would have been a better play, or maybe just switching out. I wasn't sure what he was going to do though, but he is actually going to switch into Scizor. And that's really unfortunate. Wish I put Flamethrower on here, something like that. It would have been a bit random, but that's what I did last week. If I put Flamethrower on, would that have helped? In this situation, right now, probably not because of what's about to happen. I was thinking of switching up Taunt for Will-O-Wisp, but I wouldn't have handed Porygon 2 as well, and in that situation I wouldn't have handed Musharna as well, so that's alright. But as you see here, I'm going to switch into my Suicune to take on the Scizor a bit better because I can't really touch it, as Fizz actually scouts to see if I do have the Flamethrower or the Will-O-Wisp, which Volcanion can take really well, obviously. So that was an interesting play. But now I'm going to go into Mew. Fizz is playing really well, though. He's making a lot of plays, and I'm just really not. I'm just being very passive, and I need... If I'm going to be passive, I need my hazards, and I don't have my hazards because I played badly earlier. If I could do that, I could just allow for passive damage to work, but that's not happening at the moment. So anyway, I'm going to go for a Psychic now. This is where I get lucky and I get a crit. This is where the Toxic earlier would have helped because I would have actually taken it out there. But it's easily revengeable, but it's still alive, which is annoying. So right now, I believe I go into my bat. I go into my bat. I could have gone into my Croc here, actually. That might have been a better play, because he's definitely, looking at that Steam Eruption damage, that was so much damage. That was definitely modest specs. God damn, that was a lot of damage. And my Mew wasn't going to be able to, like, switch on it very easily. So I'm going to U-turn on the Salamence. I don't like the Salamence. And I'm going to go into Soggy Doggy. It will force this Salamence out. I'm going to go for the Ice Beam because I have to go for the Ice Beam. I can't let the Volcanion get any more health back. It allows for a free switch into Electivire, which is now looking to be much more of a problem because I don't have my Mew. I don't have very nice switch-ins on there. I do actually go into my Crocodile here. That was a bad play. It's looking like it's Scarf right now. And I want to... So if it is Scarf, I really should have preserved one of Mew or my Electric Immunity. And I've just sacked them both, which wasn't ideal. Maybe going into Dragonite there would have been a better play, but I don't know. I'm hard pushed here. I could still do it because I've got banded Brave Bat, which will do nice things. But if he is Scarf Electivire, then I'm in a bit of a pickle because it will always be able to revenge Crobat. So that's a shame. So we see here he actually does switch back into Electivire. It's definitely in range for a Brave Bird. So the only reason he'd do that is if it is Scarfed. And yeah, it's able to take out Crobat. So this is looking like bad times for me. I'm going to go into my Dragonite, and this is when I wish I was, Dragon Dance instead. But I'm not, I'm banded, and I get paralyzed anyway, so even if I was Dragon Dance, it wouldn't have mattered. And that kind of seals the deal, because I need to at least outspeed Scizor to be able to get a Fire Punch off, but that wasn't happening right there. So, yeah, that's really unfortunate. I'm able to take out Electivire. If we'd gone for an Extreme Speed there, it would have been fine, but then Scizor would have come in and probably would have beaten this Dragonite and the Suicune. Yeah, if I hadn't have been banded and gone for a Dragon Dance there, there would have been maybe a chance, but probably not much of one, because he still had the combination of Salamence and Scizor. I've just played pretty badly around Salamence and Scizor, but there is still a hope, because Suicune can potentially pull some weird, crazy stuff off. So if I go into Suicune right now, and if I go for... I have to go for an Ice Beam because Volcanion is still alive. So I need to get rid of that first. If that hadn't been a thing, I would have been in a bit of a better situation, because I could have gone straight for a Scold and hurt and potentially burned either the Salamence or the Scizor, probably the incoming Scizor, because Salamence would want to Draco me, and that would have been okay. But anyways, the Salamence is coming back in, and he's got Life Orb Draco Meteor, which I'm very scared of. So yeah, not great. I'm just clicking rest at this point to try and see what I can do. And I actually live, which is very, very good. Now, if I can beat the Scizor and maybe dodge a Draco, and yeah, I could potentially still win this. I can potentially still win this. I need to be able to beat the Scizor though, and I am asleep right now. And I don't know whether I'm going to be able to do that. So it depends if it's an offensive Mega Scizor with the Swords Dance. And even then, I stand a chance depending on what moves it's decided to bring. If it's just brought Knockoff and Bullet Punch and Roost and Swords Dance or something like that, I can still beat it. So we've got to see here. Also, depends on the speed creep, because I naturally outspeed this, and I've got a little bit of speed creep. So if I outspeed it, which I don't, you see there, then that would have been good. But he does actually have Swords Dance and Bug Bite, and that damage is huge. I go for the Scold here, and I fortunately do actually get the burn, but the damage is just too much. So the speed and the, yeah, everything was just right for that Scizor, which is really unfortunate. And it is able to take down my Suicune. So if I was faster than the Scizor and got the burn, that would have been great, because I could potentially 1v1'd it. And then if I had like dodged the first Draco of the Salamence, and yeah, if I dodged the first Draco and got a rest off, and then he Draco'd again, I could have potentially won. But that would have been relying on a lot of really random stuff. But yeah, Fizz played really well there. He made a lot of plays, and I just didn't. I feel like In prep, I don't think that there was anything wrong with my prep too much this week. I didn't exactly expect what he brought, but I think the issue that I'm having with this team is that I'm not playing flexibly. I'm prepping for something, and then if it's different to what I'm expecting, then I don't play it right. So, for example, the Salamence, that set was definitely not the set that I thought he was bringing, and it would I definitely didn't play around it correctly. I needed to, I didn't want to get rid of my keys as early because they were actually really useful in getting up spikes, keeping pressure on, and thunder waving stuff. If I had thunder waved his Salamence as well instead of setting up the spikes, then it could well have been a different game because my Dragonite would have outsped it, and it would have had much more of a presence in that game. I would have been able to come in and click Outrage and 2-hit KO'd Scizor and things like that. So, or just click Fire Punch expecting the Scizor. I don't know. So, yeah, I made some misplays, and also the big one I'd say is Crook and the Stealth Rock and then switching out, because I thought they could get the idea that I'm just clicking Stealth Rock right now, but I shouldn't have tried for it anyway. Yeah, I should have tried for keeping the rocks up because the Volcanion would have been dead, the Salamence would have been injured much more, and towards the end there it was still low anyway. And yeah, it would have made my life a lot easier. So anyway, that was a good game, and I'm going to bring it next week. Next week is a big one because it's against my friend Miguel, and we've only ever played the once, and that was back in the days of the D-League, and we kind of have a score to settle, so that's going to be an interesting one. Definitely stay tuned for that. I'm just so desperate for it to be my first win of the GBA, because it would be so cool if that was the first win for me of the GBA. I will be very happy with that. And also, he's picked like a really crucial parts of my draft from the PPL. So it's interesting to see how he's using that, but he's using it in a different way. Like the Mega Blastoise Talonflame thing is like, yeah, that's really good, and I really like the idea of that. But then he's gone with Gothitelle, which is very different. The playstyle is very different the way he's using it. It's a very offensive team though, which is I like that. I'm feeling this team has a lot more passive elements, and I need to. My playstyle, I found out, I did not know this, but I think my playstyle tends to be a bit more offensive, so I need to switch that up a bit, find out how I can play it a bit more offensively. So yeah, anyway, check out next week because it's gonna be a very, very exciting one. I've been Fufu, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.